Good. Well, welcome all you cool cats and kittens. It's Wednesday. It's time to have some fun. Oh, I just need to turn that off. I think something's playing on my desktop. It is my music. I forgot to do that. Hey, there's got to be a glitch. Thanks, Scotty. I know you've been praying that nothing goes wrong, but it wouldn't be Wednesday if something didn't go wrong, or it wouldn't be Sunday. Good. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna show a few bits and pieces and see what you've been up to. Look, this is quite amazing, really. This is kind of biscuits made into shapes, and then I think it's dough, or I think it's Talitha's. I don't know, they're unicorns or stars or something. Anyway, I imagine it's going to turn into something very, very cool at the end of the cooking process. So look, hey, send us the finished product. You're probably going to paint it or do something magical with it. At Joy's house, there's always something amazing going on. I hope I've got this the right way around, girls. I think that's Kayla is doing sort of like painting with wax, and you put wax on and then you put paint, and the paint doesn't stick to the wax, and that sort of thing. I think that's what's going on there. It looks messy, like all good craft should be, and it looks like they're both involved. But thank you for sending those things in. Hey, look, I'm very short on stuff. Obviously, everyone is fed up. I'm having to show, not having to, but I will show some of the stuff that's been going on in my house. Not me, but Tanya has been making these, which are cross-stitch hearts. And when they're all finished, they get put onto a banner like that. And then they get a pom-pom at the end of it. And then they get hung up like Christmas decorations. So there has been a bag in our house with some of these unfinished for the last 18 years. So the corona lockdown has meant that now they're all almost finished. So Tanya's very pleased, and at Christmas you'll be able to see the finished product. So what else has been going on? Look, there's always stuff going on at the zoo, and Chris loves to tell us what's going on up there. So today's Wednesday broadcast has got a bit of a flying theme, bit of a in the air theme. So we're going to transition to Chris and see what he's up to.
So we've come up into some of the crop fields at the back of the zoo today with our falconer Natalie, who's going to fly a couple of her birds. She actually keeps her own birds here, so she's not working at the moment, but comes in every day to exercise her own birds on some of our land. So we're going to watch her fly the Aplomado falcon now, and then we've got a bit of a treat with the roe crow and the peregrine after that. Will be a masterclass in lure swinging.
are known to be chased by bigger birds when they are wearing jesses, because the bigger birds think they have food in their
Gotcha.
hands.
Here we go, bird one done. The next one is a battery powered bird. So this is essentially a remote control bird that the falcon is going to chase in the sky. Natalie has got the controller, see, controller, and she's actually getting quite good at it. When she first came here with this, she wasn't very good.
That was after you crashed it.
Shock face. Yeah, this is the third one we've had. So we're going to send it up in the air, Natalie's going to pilot it, then we're going to release the falcon out of the box and she's going to chase it. And it's something we'd love to do as part of the display when here at the zoo, but it's not very easy to put on because flying birds that come out the sky over people's heads, possibly not the best idea. We're being joined by a tractor, so you may not be able to hear us anymore. But Natalie's going to launch the bird, it's called a row crow, into the air, and we'll see what happens. It's quite windy today. Any more excuses? It doesn't have a head, so if she crashes, that's why. Top bird in the screen is the row crow. The peregrine is over here, getting some altitude. Bella. She's got it. Done. Yeah, she's looking mean, like, get that out of my face. There we go. So the race back to her once she's caught it is because if we leave her there too long, she'll destroy it.
That's why the head looks like that.
That's why we've on the third head as well. So now she's just tucking into her dinner before we can retrieve her, because she's earned her reward. There we go, 2 birds done, today's exercise, and we're going to head back down now. Thanks for watching, see you next time.
Brilliant. I love birds of prey, amazing. And those, yeah, they're fantastic, seeing them fly around. I love Chris's a masterclass of lure swinging. It was good. I'm not sure why it was good, but it would look good. So yeah, well done up there at the zoo for keeping all that going. If you want to see more of Chris's stuff and you didn't see that at the end, it's called Something Zoo. Go onto YouTube, click Something Zoo and look out for Chris's face, and then you'll see lots of little videos that he's done, and you can subscribe and get alerted when he puts a new one on. There's all sorts, there's shaving llamas and sheeps, and we'll keep showing some of them, but that was a really quite specialist sort of one. I hope you got a bit of that. The end of it looked a bit like Challenge Annika, if that means anything to you. You know, the running around with someone running in treasure hunt or something. Anyway, the older ones will know what that means. Hey, we had a maths problem sent in last week. This was Ellie's homework, and yes, P and Q are two numbers such that P and Q, and so on and so on and so on. Now, I must admit, I'm not going to leave it up there for very long because it didn't seem to inspire too much. I was not inundated with people who wanted to solve that. But just in case you did want to solve that, and I know there are some who absolutely loved it, here is the solution.
Okay, this is how I believe it's to be done. It's a good question. I think it's a grade 8, grade 9 GCSE question, just so you know, Ellie. It wasn't an easy one. If we assume that the 5-to-1 ratio is a -5 aspect and the 5-to-2 ratio is a +20, that's the differences between the two. Our focus will be this one here because we've got this +20 to work with. And the key is if we now work with our ratios with this bit, we can work with the rest of the ratio. And all we do is we take our +20 as being one part, and we multiply our ratios by ratio parts by this one part here. So I end up with 140, and that's for the P to Q as a ratio of 5-to-2. Okay. With this one here, then that makes this, just for your knowledge, because the difference here is a total of 25, this makes this here 75-15, which also gives you then a ratio of 5-to-1. So that's that aspect there. The final bit was obviously to work out what the ratio of P to Q is of the original. It doesn't matter which way you either do this, you just need to either take away 20 from this one or add 5 to this one, but it gives you an answer of 80-20, which simplified gives you a ratio of 4-to-1. There you go.
Simple. You know, what was the problem, Ellie? I had a little bit of a go at it, and I didn't quite get it as convincing sounding as that. But there was a winner, a worthy winner, Richard Newbold. Bam! He sent in the solution, got it spot on. And I was going to say a prize is coming out to you. Next time we see Richard, we will give him a prize. So well done, Richard. He's been helping his grandkids with their homework. So he's the kind of guy you want helping you with your maths homework. That's really good. Some of you will know that on Friday we are celebrating something called VE Day, Victory in Europe. It was when a major part of the Second World War got finished in Europe. The fighting stopped, and May the 8th was declared a bank holiday by Churchill, and everyone celebrated. And that's why the bank holiday wasn't on Monday and will be on this Friday, because we're supposed to be kind of remembering 75 years of VE Day. Some of you will know that I used to go and still go into the Hawthorns retirement home in Clevedon, and when I first started going in there was a very interesting chap who I didn't know very much about. I just knew him as Bill, and I liked him very much, and we chatted and we talked, and when he died I found out that he had a lot more to him and a lot more history to him than met the eye, and he wasn't someone who talked a lot about it, but he was a pilot. So this is where our kind of a flying theme comes in. He was a pilot in the Second World War, and he flew Hurricanes, which were some of the very famous planes. But a little bit like now, you know, we're just kind of making the best of what we're doing here, and Bill was a bit like that as well. He was just making the best of the little knowledge he had, and I want to show you this because it's always fascinating to hear from someone who is in the thick of it. So let's have a listen.
Flinders said to me, "Now then, Green, what were you before you were a pilot?" It must have, I must have smelled of being a fitter. I don't know, but I said, "Well, I was a fitter." He said, "Well, what did you have? I said, "We just got our first Hurricane." And he said, "Well, you know all about it then." He said, "Look, there's one over there." He said, "Go and sit in it, and when you feel happy about it, just take it off." I said, "Well, hang on." I said, "You know, I've never flown anything like this, really. What speed does it lift off at, and what speed does it come in at, and what speed do you have for a loop and a roll, and so on and so forth?" So he rattled this off, you know. So I went and sat in this Hurricane, and after a bit I thought, well, I'd better get on with it, I suppose. So I signaled the crew, and they started it up, and away I went. And I frightened myself to death. I went up about 20,000 feet. And here I was in this enclosed cockpit with a mask on, with oxygen on, and intercom radio messages going on all the time about activity that was going on in the air. And I added about 50% of the speeds he'd given me, I suppose, for safety, and did this loop, pulled my stick back like I would have done in the Heart, and blacked out with the G. And when I came round from my blackout, the airplane, the instruments were all going around the cockpit because they were gyro operated. Nobody said to me you had to lock them before you did any aerobatics or whatever. And so there was no horizon because there were a lot of... No, I know what it was. When I came round, I was upside down. I was inverted, hanging on my straps. And I put my stick over to roll out of it, and it went into a spin. And the buzz was that Hurricanes and Spitfires wouldn't come out of the spin. But I thought, well, I got to try anyway. So I did my correcting action, which was full opposite rudder. If you were spinning left, you get full opposite rudder to the right, and stick forward to unshield the elevator. And as soon as it came out of its spin, you centralized, and then eased it out of the dive, the ensuing dive. Well, I did the correcting action, and sure enough, it came out of the spin. I must have been so full of the joy of being normal, as it were, that I didn't neutralize. Because you put on full opposite rudder, you were spinning right, you put on full left, or vice versa, and so I didn't centralize, and I immediately went into a spin the other way. So when I finally got out of it and centralized, I was quite lowish anyway. I don't know what height, but there was no horizon. I was below the horizon because of the haze, and the instruments were going all around the cockpit. It was quite nauseating, really. Anyway, I found my way back to Biggin, and realised when I was too late to make any difference, I was overshooting. I thought, well, I'll get it done. All right. I'm nothing if not overconfident, still. And as you'll gather, and I landed it halfway up the runway, ran out of runway where all the Hurricanes were parked, and zigzagged my way, missing them, and finished off about a yard from the hedge at the end of the airfield. And I sat there with the airplane intact, and I was intact, and I'll tell you, it was some sense of relief to be down in one piece. I thought I felt totally relieved and a little proud that I'd managed it. Whereupon Squadron Leader Worrell, the CO of 32 Squadron, jumped up onto the main plane and gave me one hell of a strip. And I can't begin to tell you with the language he used or what he said, but report to my office. So I went in, and he said, "Now what the hell were you?" He'd calmed down a bit by that time. He said, "What were you doing?" So I told him, it was my first flight, told him what I had. "Okay," he said, "well, we'll forget the fortnight's confined to camp," he said. But he said, "Don't ever do anything like that." He said, "You could have written off half a dozen airplanes, which we valuably need, and yourself," he said. "Don't ever do that again." That was my first flight in a Hurricane.
That's pretty amazing. Bill, yeah, nothing but I'm nothing but overconfident, if not overconfident. I loved him. And we used to, on a Tuesday, we get together, and he was a Salvation Army. He went to the Salvation Army Church, and he loved God, and it was great just to get to know him a little bit. When he had his funeral at the Baptist Church, I went along, and there was military personnel everywhere, and then the coffin came out and was covered in a flag, and it came into the middle of this tunnel of all of these people, and then suddenly 2 jets flew over the top, screeched over. So a bit like Captain or Colonel Tom getting a flyby. He got a flyby. So yeah, pretty amazing. In Isaiah chapter 40, it says, "But those who hope in the Lord, those who trust in the Lord, those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint." I love seeing that agility of those birds and seeing them move around. And the freedom of soaring and rising on the thermals. That's what God wants for us in these times. He wants us to catch his updraft and be held aloft and be strengthened by him. And it's very easy to kind of put all the things that we know into play, and that's good to do all the right things. But actually, those who wait on the Lord, those who are expecting God to lift them, they will be raised up like eagles. And we're going to get through this. Hopefully the government will be giving us some good news towards the end of this week on how we're going to start to ease out of this, but there's still a long way to go. But yeah, those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. I've got one more video to show you, and this is of the actual day, VE Day, and gives you an idea of some of the celebrations that were had, and hopefully we'll have again at some point. So let's have a quick look at this. It's only short. Yeah, amazing scenes in London, and the Queen, I think, and her sister sneaked out of Buckingham Palace and got involved in those celebrations because it was such an amazing thing. And hopefully, when all of this is over, we'll maybe not see crowds quite like that, but we'll get back to being with each other and dancing and getting our feet in the fountains. So let me pray a blessing on us. The music you heard at the beginning was some of Campbell's CDs, and you can get them cheap at the moment, or I think all the money goes to him. So if you want to get some of his music, then dial into search him out on the internet and encourage him by just buying some of that stuff. Join us again on Sunday, and we'll have church on Sunday as we normally do. And yeah, I hope you have a great week, that the weather stays a bit more like this. And let me pray for us, and then I'll let you go. Father, I thank you that when we wait on you, when we expect good things from you, you don't disappoint, and you lift us, and you come underneath us like a wind, and you give us strength. And Father, we can be assured that you're not going to let us down, that we rise like eagles, that we soar on those thermals of your love and your grace and your goodness. And Father, I thank you that you would bring strength and peace and endurance to everyone at this time as we continue to look to you and put our hope in you in these times. So bless everyone tonight, and those who are looking at this whenever they're looking at it, in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, thanks for joining us, joining me and me and the cat, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bless you.
There is a story in the far unseen. Let it be believed. It was early August and the rain had fell. Even though the summer had only begun, let it be believed. Let it be believed. We were the brothers of a threadless scene upon the shoulders of my father's dream. Oh, we were so young. There was a fire between the moss and leaves, underneath the corrugated sheets of tea. Oh, we were so young. Oh, we were so young. We burnt our fears onto the rocks that moved, and stung our bodies on the nettles too. How did we learn?